For the last quarter of a century, the last 25 years of my life, I went on 10 international barnstorming softball trips where I was the primary pitcher for the National Jewish All-Star team. I learned a lot, I grew a lot. Our team was organized and sponsored by Maccabi USA.
Early dreams for a sports fest of Jewish athletes can be traced back to a group of Hebrew sportsmen in Constantinople who organized a federation called Maccabi in 1895, just 1 year before the beginning of the modern Olympic Games. During the intervening years, they held a series of competitions until 1929, when final plans were made for the first full-scale Maccabiya in Palestine.
In 1984, I was approached to help out find a facility for the first Canadian softball team to go to the Maccabi Games, and my first question was, what's the Maccabi Games?
The Maccabi Games are a very unique event. To compare it to the Olympic Games are primarily a sporting event where athletes from various countries come by or come and join with the specific purpose of competing, trying to win a medal or trying to do their personal best. And they come, they compete, and then they go home.
We had 78 countries here. It's the third largest sporting event, multi-sport sporting event in the world after the Olympics and the World University Games. We happen to have a higher content of Jewish athletes here, however.
No one in the world does what we do and can do, because sports is such a fantastic medium. You can bring and get interested so many different people in our culture, in our community, through the hook of sports. And that's why I love it.
March 31st, 1932, the Maccabiya Games are opened by Mayor Dizengoff, the first mayor of Tel Aviv. National sporting delegations from all over the world march in the opening parade, the start of a Maccabiya tradition. Says Maccabiya Games creator Yosef Yucatelli, we demonstrate to the world, hundreds of us, the upright spirit of the Jewish people and our desire to build a nation in our own land.
For 3 weeks every 4 years, I went from being, just a completely regular guy who happens to be a good softball pitcher, plays a lot of softball at home, into a really kind of more like international sports celebrity for that 3 weeks.
I got involved with Maccabiya because I came on Birthright last year, fell in love with Israel, loved it, felt a really big connection with Israel, and was talking with my aunt, and she always talks about how much she loves Maccabiya and been doing it for years, and said, hey, why don't you come as a manager, see what you can do? And I said, all right, sounds like a good idea.
I came in 1977 for the first time, and I've been here in every single game after that for the last 10 Maccabiya.
And the leadership here of all the people who work and live here in Israel is phenomenal. I wouldn't give up coming to the games for anything. I love it.
It's about exposing Jewish youth to Israel and the people from the diaspora and understanding where they come from and why it is that this little country, the size of New Jersey, surrounded by enemies, is able to not only survive but thrive. That's what keeps me involved in this organization.
1935 and the second Maccabiya. It is called the Maccabiya of the Aliyah. With Nazism on the rise, many of the competitors will choose to stay in Palestine at the conclusion of the Games against the wishes of the British High Commissioner.
The first time I came to Maccabi, I was only 14, so it was a very different experience for me than it is right now. When I was 14, first time I was away from my parents this long, and I was meeting a whole bunch of new people.
I'm so excited for opening ceremonies and to finally get to see all the different countries and be in Israel with thousands of Jews from around the world who are all here for the same reason.
Teams from Poland, Egypt, and Bulgaria make their last appearance in the Games. Posters are ordered for the third Maccabiya Games in 1938. They will be delayed 12 years.
The Maccabiya Games brings Jewish athletes from around the world to Israel. And Israel is the cultural and emotional and religious center of Judaism around the world.
Maccabi USA softball program allowed me, first off, the opportunity to come to Israel for the first time to compete on the United States team, and what it did for me as well, it allowed my parents and also my wife, Sandy, and our 3 children, Alyssa, Evan, and Jeffrey, the opportunity to come here as well to watch us compete in 1989, and allowed us to share and join together in some great times and some great competition.
The summer of 1950, the Maccabi Games resume in the new independent state of Israel. The symbolic torch is carried in relays from Modim, the historic gravesite of the ancient Maccabees. The runners are welcomed by Dr. Chaim Weizmann, the first president of the State of Israel.
Basically, it was somewhere to go play softball. Didn't realize how it would affect me till I got here the first time in 1985. Then once being in Israel, I felt some special attachment, not only to the country but to the people, and developed a great bond with my teammates, knowing that everybody was Jewish, and then meeting other Jewish players from all over the world keeps drawing me back year after year.
This is my first and last. This is actually my final gymnastics competition in my life, so it was a pretty awesome way to go out. Decided to make my final competition the Maccabi Games, and it was a pretty awesome experience. We won gold as the team, which is the first time the U.S. has done that in about 30 years. So it was a really awesome experience.
A new modern stadium has been constructed for the games in the town of Ramat Gan, a suburb of Tel Aviv. Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion is on hand to witness the opening ceremony.
I've been participating in the Maccabi Games, the World Maccabi Games, since I was 16 years old. I was a javelin thrower for the Israeli national team until 1990. And then I was also the track coach for them for years. I started pitching in 1985 for the national team in Israel, and that's when I started actually throwing for them. Played before as a regular player.
It was nice to be with people who were celebrating the same things that I was, and were doing the same things that I were, and were the same age as me, but we also had that one connection of being Jewish without having to know anything else about each other.
To be around this many Jewish people is just absolutely phenomenal and fabulous. I love it.
In rejoicing over the resumption of the Games, all the participants are reminded that since the last Maccabea, many of the finest Jewish sportsmen and women in Europe have disappeared in the Holocaust, while others have fallen in battle serving with the Allied forces. Among the national delegations appearing for the last time in the Games, Libya is one team that will not return.
Meeting so many young athletes, they've never been in Israel, and it would not be without, otherwise, if not for the Maccabi Games, they would never come to Israel. Athletes from so many different countries. You didn't even think there are Jews up in those countries, and indeed they are here, they are competing, they're all thrilled to be here.
Organizing the 19th Games United States team took on a life of its own, much more than I ever expected. Between the conference calls, the meetings, the traveling, it was really something that just overtook my life, and it really affected me. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I have to say one of the greatest accomplishments of my life. And I'm sure when the games are done and we go home, we go, wow, we planned for that for 2 or 3 years and it was over just like that. I'm sure there'll be some postpartum depression, but I'm sure I'll sit back and take solace in the job well done.
The 1965 7th Maccabi Games. American 15-year-old Mark Spitz captures 4 gold medals. And another American University of Illinois basketball star, Tal Brody, leads the USA to a team gold medal, then decides to make Aliyah in Israel. In 1969, Spitz returns to the Holy Land to win 6 more swimming gold medals for the United States, as Tal Brody leads Israel's basketball 5 to its first ever Maccabi championship. Since 1973, the Maccabi Games have grown to extraordinary proportions.
I had started my law practice and things were flourishing, and I remember saying in 1985 or early 1986 to my wife, things are good, it's time to give back. And what am I interested in? My interests were State of Israel, sports, young people, and the only thing I could think of at the time were the Maccabi Games.
on the field there's an intense rivalry, and you really, in effect, you hate the other teams. But when it comes to being off the field, we're all one, and we're bonded, with our heritage. And to play here in this country, it's almost spiritual in a way.
As team manager, I oversee all the operations of the U.S. team here, from sports to transportation to problems with our team itself, to running and making sure that all the juniors are settled with Harold, who does the junior team.
Oh, funny is the way that they organized all of it, or, organized.
It's quite encompassing a job.
They gave 3 of us a suite, which is basically a 1-bedroom hotel room. So we got Bradley on the couch, and we got Johnny Ray and myself in the bedroom, but the beds were so close that one morning we woke up holding hands.
We have to coordinate with the Israelis.
Why are they sending someone who doesn't speak English?
The Maccabi World Union people.
How is he going to know where to pick us up?
We have to coordinate with my managers that are on staff.
They didn't tell you where to go.
Everything outside of the pool was craziness. They tried to cancel competitions. They called the wrong people up for medals.
We have to coordinate with the hotels we're at and their staffs.
I can't understand you. You're muffled.
We have to make sure that all little problems are resolved before they become big problems.
Speaking to the phone.
Today, for instance, we discussed the closing ceremonies.
I don't need no shit from no coach that doesn't do his job either.
We discussed the visit to the IDF different bases.
Stay away from the schnitzel. They will really rip you open.
And we discussed how we're leaving Israel the day after.
Well, if I have another falafel, I'll probably end up choking myself.
Now I have to go back and disseminate all that information.
Too late, that's all there is to it. It's very simple. You schedule a pickup at 3 o'clock, you show up at 3:15, okay. Show up at 3:20, okay. Show up at 5 o'clock, no good.
So everybody knows what's going on.
It's always a challenge to try to work with people from different cultures.
Many cultural differences certainly are present, and things that we sometimes take for granted because we're used to certain customs and practices in America are not necessarily what are the standard of care and practices in another country, and particularly here in Israel.
But then once we got in the pool, everything went the way athletes do.
Kind of grueling, but definitely rewarding.
I got 2 gold in the backstroke and the breaststroke, and then another bronze in the backstroke, 100 meters.
We speak different languages, both literally and metaphorically, but it's been a great experience.
I would never hesitate to come here.
This was a great meet. I did way better than I expected.
I really enjoy what I do, and I've enjoyed this trip immensely. It's my first time in Israel.
It was wonderful to be here to meet all of the Paralympic athletes and to hang out with them.
So it's been nice. It's been real nice.
For my first international competition, it's something I'll never forget.